Is your website invisible, leaving you feeling frustrated and confused, wondering how to get to your ideal customers to find you? Today we'll be looking at what SEO can do for your business to help you put your website on the map and get found by your ideal customers. Welcome to the Radiant Business Podcast, where we empower you to succeed in business. I am your host, Jason, a web developer with more than 10 years of experience, specializing in SEO and website conversions. And joining me is co-host Terry.
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm here to learn along with you.
That's right, and Terry's also a professional voice actor.
Yes, I am.
And
so what voice are we going to use today?
I would say today we're going to be using the voice of SEO.
There you go.
And learning how that can help you take your website from invisible to visible.
Exactly. That's, in my mind, that's not an easy thing to do. So, so you do need, at least in my opinion, a professional who knows exactly what they're doing with that. Because it's a potential, make or break for your business. So you want somebody who knows what SEO is and how it will work for your specific business. So thank you for teaching.
Yeah, and a good starting point is to define what is SEO.
Yeah, tell us.
It stands for search engine optimization. And the way I always like to describe it is it's a set of techniques and strategies that you use to help your website rank well for relevant searches.
Okay, so you're talking like Google, right? If somebody goes on Google and they're looking for a specific kind of service or product, whatever pops up first, is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Okay.
And
all right, that makes it easy.
Yeah,
and yes, you do want to be at the top of the list, right?
Exactly. In fact, statistically, if you're in the top 10 results, you're likely going to be getting, people coming over to your website from the search. If you're 11th down, then it's not so likely. Getting below 30th place, and you may as well all be ranked last at that point.
So I have a question. So how many people out there are there doing the same thing? And, how do you make sure that you are in the top, say, 5 to 10? How is that done? Do you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies that people will employ. Some of them are strategies that used to work in the past but don't work anymore. And in fact, that comes down to basically, if you're familiar with the old Cowboys and Indians Western shows where, the good guy would wear the white hat, an old black and white, and the bad guy would wear the black hat. Well, we borrow that term. We borrow that term for SEO, and we say black hat SEO, referring to people that are going to be using any kind of trick they can to try and force your website up the rankings. They're generally going to be promising shortcuts and faster trip up into the top 10.
Okay.
And basically they're going to be using different kinds of hacks, tricks, workarounds, ways to try and game the algorithm to trick it into ranking your site in the top.
Okay. Well, that's why you need a developer, right?
And on the other hand, a white hat SEO, they generally are looking to follow the intent of the rules. And so what they're looking to do is, pick the right keywords, create good quality content based around those, those phrasings, and as well as make sure the website's technically sound, doesn't have any broken links, doesn't have any technical flaws, that it's fast, efficient, and user-friendly, and that people, when they arrive at that website, they generally find it useful and will stick around. And so that's...
Get that?
Yeah, and so generally what ends up happening is if you do end up using those kind of black hat SEO techniques, then you tend to be more vulnerable to algorithm changes that will, can just suddenly destroy your website, taking you from top of the search results to suddenly down in the like hundred something, result just overnight.
Okay.
Whereas if you're following the rules, it takes longer to get up there, but once you're up there, you tend to be more sticky because algorithm changes will be more likely to help you than harm you for the most
Okay.
part. And the same holds true not just for Google, but for the two other main search engines, Bing, Yahoo, as well as smaller search engines out there. And really is regardless of what search engine people are using, if people are using it, your site's coming up and it's bringing traffic in. That's the important thing, not specifically that it's coming from Google search. Though Google is the biggest, so obviously if you're able to rank number one there, you're going to have the highest likelihood of pulling in traffic.
Exactly. Basically, what you're saying is cheat the system, right? I wouldn't even know how to do that in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand why people would do it in the first place, but I know they do, and like you say here, it does lead to potential penalties, but then they close shop and just start up as something else, and they just keep going. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's it's a shame, but that is kind of what happens.
Of course.
All right, so go ahead.
Yeah. Of course, that also leads to the issue, though. Is let's say your business is a going concern, and you hired someone to help you with your SEO, or you followed some guide that you found online of 10 SEO hacks that can bring your website to number one on Google guaranteed or something like that. And you did all that and it worked for a little while, then it didn't until it didn't. And it's a case of this, this is your business. It's not something where you can just shut it down and start something else up because it's your
Right,
business. So you want to keep doing your business. But now you're
right.
suddenly at a disadvantage. Well, that's
Well, get it. Go ahead.
so that's where you need to be aware of some of the red flags that someone's offering you some
Yeah, I
shady
was just going to
tactics that
ask.
might not
Yeah.
necessarily work forever.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So, how do you identify either the black or the white hat, let's say, individual in the wild? So, how can one make SEO easier to do for the expert or themselves?
Well, generally, for identifying someone who's going to be using what you call black hat tactics in their SEO, if
Uh
they're
huh.
starting to make a bunch of crazy promises, like they're promising that you're going to rank number one within a month guaranteed or
Oh,
something like
I
that,
see.
or they're
I
saying I'll
see.
guarantee you 25 backlinks per day or 100 backlinks per month or something like that. Now, first of all, what is a backlink? Well, that's a link leading into your website. So it also can be called an
Right.
inbound link. And why those are
Okay.
important is most search engines will usually, when they detect those, they view that as the website giving you that link, as giving your website their vote of confidence. And so your
Okay.
website starts building up what's called authority based on the fact that others are linking to it.
Okay.
And a higher authority website is easier to move up the rankings than a lower authority website.
Okay.
So, and so what, yeah, and so what a SEO professional is doing when they're making those types of promises about guaranteed numbers of links is they're typically just flooding out a bunch of spammy links or using various other tricks and tactics to guarantee generating the links. And those links are invariably very low quality. If they're spammy, maybe they're doing comment spam on other people's websites, and that's generally going to get detected as an unnatural growth of links, and it's going to end up getting
Right.
you penalized by Google, and really other search engines will penalize that behavior as well
Rightfully so.
because because they want to be because they're in the business of delivering high quality relevant search results, not cheesy
Exactly.
results where somebody gamed the system to trick their algorithm into putting it up high up the ranking.
Well, that's something that's something you see a lot on Amazon, right?
Yeah,
With fake, reviews and yeah. I mean, it's like I think that kind of thing is like everywhere today.
yeah, it is.
Um,
And of course, the other strategy of saying I guarantee results in X number of days, either they're lying and they really can't generate that result, or again they're using some kind of trick or hack that's going to force it and unnaturally up the search results. And generally, when the search engine detects that trick or hack or flaw in their algorithm, they generally patch it out, and then your website suddenly drops down a whole bunch of spots, and you're left, pulling your hair out in panic and frustration, like, oh my God, what happened?
oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, have you ever had this happen to you at all?
Me personally, no,
No.
because
Okay.
I studied SEO pretty early on in my days as a web developer, so I pretty quickly learned what the algorithm's rules are and what happens when you break the rules, and really the safe
That
and
is
the unsafe ways of moving your site up the rankings.
I cannot believe you're giving this information away just free for people who need it. Um, that Thank you for one, because when it comes time to do that, I want to make sure that who I talk to, has that, right? So if I were to go out and say get bids, right, from several different places, I could compare them, right? And go, oh, yeah, I see what he's talking about now.
Exactly.
So, I'm really grateful actually that you have said that, because I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people out there probably don't know this. And, it's your business, it's your reputation on the line. So take it seriously.
Yeah.
Definitely take it seriously, because you don't want to get a bad reputation because you had the wrong company do your SEO. You really don't.
Yeah. And what
So,
one of the things that can happen if you get penalized is, especially if it was link spam, is that can take being a very labor intensive process. It could take weeks, months, sometimes even years to go through manually disavowing all those links.
yeah, exactly.
And
And
that's basically that's a process you have to do, is find all the spammy links and disavow them, to basically tell the search engines like Google that yeah, these links exist and they're spammy, but I'm not wanting them to count anymore. Which
yeah,
that could be an issue if other websites are, if their spammy websites are putting your link up on their without you even realizing it, which can also lead
okay,
you into that kind of problem where you have links that are detracting from your SEO rather than helping. And that
right.
again is a process you go through if somebody's doing that. Is you go through the disavow process to disavow the link, to basically say, hey, I don't want you to count this link against my or against my SEO score.
Right. Yeah. And man, what a
Yeah,
hassle that would be. So, you're really better off doing your due diligence with the companies that you get quotes from to do it.
yeah, exactly.
And again, you do this as well. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
Something you can build because you're a developer. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and you want to go to someone who is definitely reputable and, knows what they're doing, and will work with you in the type of business that you have as well.
exactly. And some of the key signs that you're dealing with an honest SEO is they'll be upfront with you about SEO is it's a long term strategy and a process. And
Yeah,
your average
exactly.
business, the way I usually advise businesses that are wanting to do SEO is you're investing in SEO now to see a result 1 year from now, because that doesn't guarantee that you're that's going to take a year because different industries and businesses will be in different situations. If you're a brand new business in a very highly competitive industry, it might take several years for you to make any headway in moving up the rankings. That
Yeah,
can
that would
also
be
be the case if
voiceover.
you're targeting the wrong keywords. You're targeting highly competitive, keyword phrases. That'll again be holding you back from getting results. Whereas if you're willing to tunnel down into those, niche searches and niche, solutions, then you can find some very low competition keywords that might not take all that long at all to rank in. The trade-off is they generally have fewer searches per month, but it's better to get a percentage of a small pie than 0% of a huge pie.
Right, exactly. Because it will rank you either way,
Yep, and
right?
the key,
So,
yeah, the key
the
benefit
long game is
is,
always going to be better, isn't it?
yeah, and the key benefit to, investing in SEO and picking attainable niches is you're going to start getting that result from your SEO once you've moved high enough up the rankings, you start seeing traffic from it. As long as your website is also following the conversion recommendations from episode 1 of our podcast, then you'll start attracting the traffic into there, you'll convert it, and you'll start
Right,
seeing sales eventually coming out of that traffic. And that's now
exactly.
bringing you a return on your investment into SEO. Now, the trick is, of course, to make sure you're attracting enough traffic and enough conversions with enough profit margin that the extra sales you're getting from SEO exceeds the amount of money you're investing in SEO every month.
So when could a person see that return? So you say
Uh,
within a year they'll start seeing the return?
yeah, typically, yes.
Okay.
So,
And you're right. I'd say depending on the business, I know voiceover is a very tough competition
yeah.
kind of thing, and there's millions of us out there. I mean, millions. But there's over 1 billion opportunities as well for voiceover every year, just in the
Yeah.
United States alone.
But that's
So
why we say the riches are in the niches.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
if you find a good low, because there are plenty of, search terms that people can use. If you find a good niche with a good
Right.
set of, low volume, low competition search terms, you dominate that set of searches, and that's where you can start seeing an increase in your profitability, which you can then
So
reinvest into challenging some of the more competitive ones later.
is that something that you take into consideration or work with the client in finding out what some of those, maybe not so well known or used searches are, or keywords? Do you help them with that depending on what their market is and their
Yeah,
business?
yeah, absolutely. That's one of
Okay.
the first key things that I'll do is what you call keyword research, where I'll actually be using specific tools that to identify. Basically, what I'll do
Broaden
is
the search.
I'll start with one single keyword, put that into the tool. It'll then find all the different variants of that keyword
And then do
from
more. And, yeah,
including all the
I like
niche
it.
versions of it, like
That's wonderful.
the long, which those would be typically longer phrases, what we call long tail, which is usually 4 or 5 words and up. Variants of it that'll, and those are usually what I'll be looking for is which of those are relevant to my client's business and which of
Exactly.
those are low enough competition that they're attainable with still having enough
Exactly.
search volume for it to be worth the effort.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, as a novice business owner, I mean, I don't know these things, right? I think I mentioned to you before. I'm catching up, right,
Yeah,
on technology, and you know, so it is really nice to know that you can work with a client like myself who really is novice at all of this, in their business. If you're like me, you're single business owner, and it's, yeah, there's so many things to think about. There's so many things to do, and it can be overwhelming when you're first starting out like I am. And it is just nice to know that you can go to one person for all of these things to help you and your business, not just your website, but your actual business. That is amazing. I mean, that really is amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
I like it.
Now, of course, if you have any questions about SEO or want to get some extra help, you can always leave your questions in the comment section down below. Provided you're on YouTube, Rumble, or any other platform that has a comment section, and we will read through them and do our best to provide you with answers or additional help. Of course, if you have,
Exactly.
and of course, if you want to find out more about SEO and how that can benefit your business, you can always, I'll leave this link in the description down below to my business's SEO page, so you can take a look at what plans I have available for you, and from there we can start the conversation and look at what your business needs are and how we would best apply that to you.
Exactly. If you found this information valuable, follow or subscribe for new episode every week. And thank you for watching the Radiant Business Podcast. We'll see you next week.